Has John Obi Mikel confirmed that Osimhen is coming this summer? Today, my friends, I'm here to discuss the latest club news as well as scouting news that you guys need to know about that dropped today. So hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and don't forget to watch the preview for our Brentford game tomorrow that is currently out now. I hope you guys enjoy, and getting straight into the video, let's discuss some interesting club news that got revealed today. And currently, we are looking to hire more set-piece coaches. Now, this report first came from The Telegraph and later The Guardian. And at this point in time, we are trying to establish a set-piece department. Now, I'm not going to lie, maybe I'm playing FM too much. There's too many parallels. I mean, I've recently just found out that you can hire set-piece coaches on FM24, so it's pretty funny. But regardless though, we're hoping we could hire at least up to 2 coaches for this new department. And it's interesting because originally Pochettino was a bit skeptical when the club kind of queried him about the possibilities of creating this club-wide department within the club. At the time, Poch felt like him and his coaches are more than fine and good enough to handle this, but in typical Pochettino fashion, he works with these institutions, he knows how to work within setups and structures. It's one of the main reasons why he was hired, and he seems to have eased his mind and approach to this appointment. Be interesting to see what we do, but in terms of the strategy, I guess it makes sense. I mean, currently you would say Brentford's are one of the best set-piece coach teams in the country, and we've definitely taken inspiration from Brentford. I mean, you're seeing the stats on screen, and other clubs like Arsenal, Forest and Aston Villa have also hired their own independent set-piece specialists within their clubs as well, and there is a net benefit towards having experts like this. Now, I think it's a very interesting debate. I don't really have any strong opinions on this. I'm sorry, I'm not like a full expert on anything and everything football coaching in the game, but there is an argument between specialist versus manager. Who has more control? Like, how can they work together? That will be interesting. I remember Pochettino mentioning that we lacked having set-piece specialists within the team. And my initial impression, I'm not saying I'm an expert, it's just how I've seen it, is that player quality influences how effective you are from set pieces. If you have players that can put high quality balls into dangerous areas at a high volume, and if you have the right players that can attack those balls, surely that's going to make you more effective from scoring from set pieces. But at the same time, I don't have all the knowledge. Maybe with set-piece specialists, they can help work with pre-existing players to make them more effective from attacking set pieces and defending them. Now, some may feel like, Nini, why are we looking at smaller clubs and trying to copy their structures and setups? This is the issue with us right now. I think that's a bit too cynical and you're missing the wider context. I think there is definitely a benefit here, and I'm not going to just have this skeptical eye and view around every type of club appointment like this. It's interesting, but I do feel like it is like a 50-50 thing, right? There is a relationship here, and I feel like if we are going to hire these specialists, we need to sign some players that are very effective at attacking set pieces, crosses, etc, etc. And I guess now's the time to move on to the second story as we discuss the latest news around Victor Osimhen. Are we getting closer to capturing Victor Osimhen this summer? Well, today's news is very, very hopeful and promising, and I guess we have to turn our attentions to agent John Obi Mikel. And I'm going to read out exactly some of the quotes and comments Mikel said towards Victor Osimhen. As he says, "I keep sending him text messages, calling him and making sure he joins Chelsea. I know he loves Chelsea, but other clubs want to sign him. Didier also speaks to him, and we've been telling him why we love the club. It's a huge transfer fee, but it would be fantastic if we could get him. You saw in the Carabao Cup final, we lack someone who can finish and score goals like a Erling Haaland. I believe there will be talks at the end of the season, and I hope he joins us. Obviously, he wants to follow my footsteps as a Nigerian player who has played for Chelsea. Victor Moses, Celestine Babayaro, not a lot of us." Mikel then joked, "I'm still Osimhen's agent, trying to get him to come to Chelsea. I've got 20% of that deal, so I hope it works out. But he also has a lot of interests, Paris Saint-Germain, Man United. I'm still pushing, sending him messages, trying to make sure he doesn't expect too much. Narrow your mind on one club, the Blues. I am pushing him. I hope he comes to the club." I'm not going to lie, I'm loving the transparency, loving the energy from Mikel. Come on, we all know that he's been talking to Victor, Drogba has, and we've had some inklings already that Victor now is leaning towards signing for us because he wants to make it here. For myself, the only thing that could potentially put an end to a deal like this is if for some reason we didn't have the finances to secure him, but I'd be very, very surprised by that because we've had multiple direct contacts and conversations behind the scenes to get Victor to sign for us. And I think one of the main reasons as to why he agreed to signing that new contract extension at Napoli was to make sure that there could be like a transfer value fee attached now in that release clause. And currently that's set to be 113 million. Now, it's a lot of money. And I know some reports like a few weeks back stated that, you know, Napoli realistically weren't expecting to receive that amount of money. Most clubs won't be bidding that amount of money. But I didn't really believe that, hence why I never discussed those stories, because it didn't make any sense to me. Number one, De Laurentiis is one of the most difficult characters to negotiate with. We know this ourselves multiple times. There's no way in hell he won't extract the maximum amount of money for Osimhen when Napoli are in desperate need to restructure and rebuild their team. De Laurentiis messed up for Napoli this summer. He didn't hire Thiago Motta. They didn't sign the right players they needed. He bought the wrong ones and he's really set them back. So he needs to come big, and the only way to really get Napoli back on the map again is if they receive maximum money for Victor. And with clubs like us, Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, who now have Mbappe money to spend in the summer, you have to pay that release clause if you want to sign him. I think that is the only way. So I think for us, it really comes down to how we structure the deal, and that is going to be dependent on player sales. Now, I'm feeling quite confident, right, if you add in like Lewis Hall, potentially Maatsen, Lukaku. I'd love if there was a scenario where Lukaku goes to Napoli, and then we can obviously then sign Victor for a little bit less. That could work out in our favour. You know they're going to need to sign someone with big experience for next season, right? But I feel like we are prepared to sell the players we have to make the sacrifices we need, because we need a striker of these dimensions. We need a finisher. Someone that doesn't need 5 shots to score a goal. The last time we had like a little brief sense of what it's like to have a top-class finisher was Lukaku under Thomas Tuchel, and for all the criticisms and how things ended, you know that he didn't need 5 chances to score a goal. Like, he was quite clinical and he affected the game with his runs and movements, and I think this is what we need in an Osimhen right now. So we'll see how things develop and continue, but right now things are extremely hopeful. And as I'm saying, the only way that I don't see us signing Victor is if we decide last minute, maybe Gyökeres, or maybe there's some other forward talent that we prefer right now, and we're not going to go in for him, but I'd be very surprised by that. Now, to move on to the next story, we turn our attentions now to the Belgian League. Another interesting report came out from Jacob Steinberg, and he reports that Arsenal and West Ham are tracking former Derby County left-back in Archie Brown. Now, for Archie Brown, it's been a very big rise in his career recently. For the past 3 years, he was playing for Lausanne in Switzerland, in the 2nd division. Last summer he got hired by Ghent for like, I think it's on a 3 or for 4 million, I can't remember. At the time, you know, Samuel Cardenas, like, you know, the top scout, the guys signed super talents like If Orban and etc, etc. And Ghent actually have had a recent history of flipping players for big money. Yaremchuk, Malik Fofana, Jonathan David, and obviously Gift Orban as well. So Ghent are seen as one of the clubs that you turn towards to find the next big thing. And it seems like in Archie Brown they have a very talented left back who can also play left wing back, and who also used to play as a left winger on their club's books. Now, I wish I could find the videos to show his game off. I haven't been able to do that. It's been quite hard, and the videos I do find I'm not allowed to actually use in the video, but I'm going to explain what I've noticed, what I've seen, and how his game is. And I think one of the things that stands out about him is that this guy's a unit. He's like 190 centimeters, like what, 6'3". Yeah, you're seeing his FBref stats right now. You know, look at the progressive carries, successful take-ons, touches in the penalty box, progressive passes received, high 90th percentile. So of course, you know, these stats are dependent on what's happening in Belgium, right? But the fact that he's ranking this high does kind of show that, okay, this guy could potentially be ready to play at a higher level. You're seeing that he's quite strong in the air with his aerials and ranking the 90th percentiles. Good with his blocks as well too. He knows how to make himself big and get himself in front of the ball. But he looks like a very powerful type of runner who knows how to time his runs in behind and affects the game in the final thirds. I mean, look at the progressive passes received. You know, that is stupidly high. And it means that he's a massive, constant outlet for Ghent this season. The progressive carries, he is comfortable carrying the ball up. He's comfortable taking his opponents on and making things happen inside the box. Obviously, in terms of the passes, what he's doing, his expected assist rate, You know, his passes into the penalty area, his crosses into the penalty area. It's no surprise why you could see him as a great left wing back. And he has actually been playing left wing back recently for Ghent. But I think some of the stats that are really impressing me outside of crosses is these types of details here. I mean, look at what he's doing in possession. For clubs like us, normally when you sign a fullback, I feel like you need to sign that two-way player. And what I mean by that is, you know, for big clubs, you can't just be a fullback first. You have to also be a winger when it comes to playing in the opposition half. Can you affect the game like that? And that is something that Archie Brown is showing, and it's no surprise why currently he's been scouted not only by Arsenal, West Ham, but Juventus, Nice, AC Milan, Lyon. And remember, Ghent are seen as one of the clubs that clubs are turning towards now to sign talents, because these guys end up being, you know, pretty phenomenal players. But look at the 90th percentiles, 97th percentiles. It's ridiculous. You know, he's so effective in the opposition half. Yes, it's the Belgian League, but listen, if our scouts are scouting him, and if the data analysts are showing interesting reports and things, I'm going to keep an open mind, considering that these same things were used towards us signing George Petrovic. Obviously, part of me also thinks too, you know, we've got Ian Matson. He's also another similar profile. Yeah, he's not as big, not as physical, not as dominant in the air compared to an Archie Brown, which maybe that's why he's not being looked towards. Maybe it's been sold purely because we must sell and sacrifice to like readdress the concerns in our team right now. But I'm always going to think, yeah, it's a shame that him and Poch, something's not working between them, because I thought that this guy would be ready now for this season. And to think that he's doing quite well at Dortmund and he might not get a second chance here, I guess I need to accept that. But I think this story was pretty interesting because, you know, when I cover lots of news and stories like this, so many players that were unknown talents end up having like a bigger impact in the game. And I guess for me, the famous example was when I was discussing Moises Caicedo back when he was in Ecuador a few years back in the January. And right now, he's the record Premier League transfer in history. So let's see what happens with the story, and let's wait for links surrounding other left backs, because it does seem like left back is an area we want to address for next summer. So my friends, that's the Archie Brown news out the way. And right now we end things by discussing the latest news around Swedish wonder kid and Roony Bardghji. Now, a pretty quick story, but a report came out from Denmark and it suggests that we are still actively following the player. Now, currently, since 2024, he hasn't been playing as much, and originally reports suggested that because he hasn't agreed to signing a contract extension, he has been omitted from the team, maybe as like a, you know, a bit of a fight back to persuade the player to try and negotiate something. But that has been refuted by their manager. But to be honest, he would do that, right? So what's the truth here? Who knows? Is a player acting up? Is a club acting up? Is a bit of both? We ain't going to find out. But one thing we do know is that because his contract expires in 2025 in December, he's only got like, what, 18 months left or less than that right now. It does mean that his value right now is around 9 million euros, which is absolutely ridiculous for a talent that just last summer was going for like nearly triple that in terms of value. Now, for myself, I'll be signing him for the first team. I really have no idea, but I just know that with our continued efforts to really push this club network, multi-network model, I'd imagine that he'd be someone for that. But I'm hoping that before the summer window comes, we start to hear more about us maybe capturing another club. I know this stuff's pretty controversial, and in my opinion, I wish it wasn't even part of the game. I'll keep things real with you, but the fact that it is part of the game and it is part of our reality means that I need to think about how it's going to work. But I do think that if we're going to continue to sign young talents, we need to have more clubs to safeguard these guys in, because we've made some big mistakes already with your Andre Santoses, Caicedos, and a few of these guys already. But Roony Bardghji coming at a very affordable fee. Let's see what happens. I mean, as a teenager, getting double digits for goals and assists, it's going to mean that you're going to be scouted, you're going to get followed, there's going to be hype around you. And he seemingly has an incredible professional relationship where he has a big determination to become a world-class player. That's what he wants to do. And to be that young and that focused is obviously a very positive sign. So let's hope that he can eventually start getting more minutes back in the team again. It's never not good when kids aren't playing. And I guess for our end things, with the fact that Barca are expressing interest in signing him this summer, could that force us to make a move right now to get him? Because Bardghji is going to know that we've been following him for the past like 3.5 years now. So my friends, that is all the latest big stories that dropped today. Share your thoughts and opinions. Don't forget to watch the preview. And on that note, I am the EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll see you guys tomorrow with some more videos. Cool.